money is, we just show it, and we showed yesterday, it's the sum of bills plus reserves. It corresponds to, I showed it again once yesterday, it corresponds to the bills, this type of the bills that are either in your pockets or in the ATM or in the banks. So these bills can be found either in your pockets or in the ATMs or in the banks. What is the monetary mass? If I ask you, how many money do you have? How many money do you have today? You'll tell me, okay, I have this money in my bank account plus this money in my pocket. So once again, if you aggregate all this, the monetary mass will be how much? The monetary mass is equal to deposits plus bills. So central bank money is 400 and monetary mass is 1,200. Is it okay until now? Good. Now, what is the reserve rate? How much is the reserve rate? The reserve rate, initially here, is equal to small r, that is reserves to deposits. And this one is equal to, let's write it like this, 1/5. What is the preference of households for cash? What's the preference of households for cash? The preference of household for cash corresponds to the number of bills they have in their pockets compared to the deposits. So the preference of household for cash is equal to the banknotes to deposits, which is also equal to 1/5. This is the initial situation of my economy. Now, what is happening? The central bank considers that there is enough confidence in the country. The central bank considers that now we can go a little bit further with loans. So what are they going to do? Well, they have a first option, which is increase central bank money, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that because this might create inflation. They want to have another way of creating money, able to control it. So what they're going to do is they're going to lower down the reserve rate. So the central bank, let's put it in red, decides to decrease the reserve ratio, and it goes from 1/5 to 1/10. Okay? So what is happening now? What is happening now? Let's write again the account. Let's write again the account. Active, passive. Deposit is still 1,000. So this doesn't change for the time being. So I have deposits of 1,000. Credits is still 600. Credits is still 600. And for the time being, bills are still 200. Okay. Okay, we need to have some discussion. Okay, well, okay. Bonjour, okay, let me see.
Just say anything you want.
Okay, I'll try to go to the previous. Let's go to the previous exercise. We have the previous exercise to check it together. Okay, let me see the previous exercise so we can work that together. This one. Yeah. Okay. Come on, guys. This is for marketing reasons, so please try to be correct. Okay. Girls, this is clear. Is this something you understand? This is, well, it's 45 when you have the equality. Guys, there was a question, which is, it's a good question. It's the question of the 45 degrees. You know, when you want to show the equality, for example, between savings and investment.
C'est parfait, merci.
C'est bon? Okay. But I'll still continue to this. When you want to show the equality between savings and investment, or when you want to show the equality between effective demand and GDP. Why did I put, she had here something which is interesting. She had something here, she has put like I do. You see here, 45 degrees. Can you see that? Well, this shows that the line cuts the angle in half. Which means that on this line, all the values make that what is in the x-axis is equal to what is in the y-axis. Okay? On this line here, always s is equal to y. Because it's the line that cuts the angle in half. Okay? Okay, let's go back to our stuff. Okay. So you will be in the promotional clip of the university. Good. Okay, let's go now to our hard stuff. So what are now the mandatory reserves? What are the mandatory reserves? How many reserves must the commercial banks have? The commercial banks must have 1/10, so the R has gone to 1/10, right? Which means that this is equal to reserves to deposits. So this means that R is equal to 1/10 of deposits, which means that reserves are equal to 100. So the mandatory reserve, so I put an M here. I put an M for mandatory reserves. But let's make it bigger. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So this is 600. This is 200, and this is 100. Okay? The mandatory reserves are 100. But how much are the total reserves? The reserve that the bank had were 200, right? This was the reserves. So, reserves minus mandatory reserves, which are this one, okay, is equal to excedent reserves, which means that excedent reserves is equal to 200 minus 100. So it's equal to 100. So excedent reserves are equal to 100. Okay? The sum is always 200. The sum is always equal to 100. Wait, I'll put it a little bit further away. I need space here. I need to write things. And here I should. Okay. So it's the same thing. It's always written the same thing. I just try to make some place. Yeah.
Accident. What does it mean? The
Oh, what
Can you
was
say
that?
what?
Yes, the MR is mandatory reserves. ER is accident reserves. Basically, the mandatory reserves are the one that you need. The accident reserves are the one that you don't need. So the commercial banks, with the new policy of the central bank, must only have 100 bills in the bank, 100 reserves. But they do have 200. So what are they going to do? They will use these accident reserves to make new credits. So, third table here. So here is where things become a little bit complicated. So the banks, the commercial banks, will use these reserves to make new credits. So the new credits will be 600 plus hundreds. So imagine a commercial bank makes you a credit. What do you do with this credit? You put it in your bank account. Or if you got this credit, let's say, to buy a house, you will pay the owner of the house. Anyhow, this credit will be found in the deposits of people. So immediately this credit goes to the deposits. Once again, the commercial banks have accident reserves. So they make a loan. They make a loan to you. You get this loan. Once the bank says you get a loan, what happens? This money is transferred to your bank account. This is the loan. And maybe you will use this money to buy a house from her. So you will transfer money to her, and that will be in her bank account. But anyhow, this money comes to the bank account of people. So let's put it in red. So the bank accounts increase by 100. Now, we know that people want to have some part of it with bills. So what's the part of this deposit that people want to have in their pocket as bills? What is the amount of this sum here that people want to take as bills? We saw it here, preference for cash. People want to have 1/5 of their deposits in cash. This means that the new bills is equal to B multiplying new deposits. And B is new bills, and D is new deposits. I'll write it here. And B is new bills, and D is new deposits. Now, how much is this? Well, this is 1/5 multiplying 100. So this is equal to 20. So people will take of this 100, out of this 100, 20 for bills. Now, what are the mandatory reserves? What are the mandatory reserves? Until now, you had mandatory reserves of 100s. How much must be the mandatory reserves? The new mandatory reserves are equal to R multiplying new deposits. So the new mandatory reserves are equal to 110 multiplying 100. So it's equal to 10. So the new mandatory reserves are of 10. How many reserves did I have in the beginning? How many reserves did I have in the beginning? 200. Out of these 200s, 100 became mandatory and 100 became excedentary. Now, of this 100 excedentary here, it's still bills, guys. This is what you must understand. It's always bills. Out of this 100, 20 went to the pockets of people, and 10 changed the status, became mandatory reserves. So, excedent reserves are equal to 100 minus 20 minus 10 equal to 70. This is the difficult part. The difficult part is to understand that central bank money never changes. From the beginning of our exercise, we didn't finish yet, of course, until the end, the central bank money will remain 400. This will never change. You start the exercise, central bank money is 400. You will go until the end of the exercise, I will need this and more. Central bank money is still 400. But what will change is the ratio between bills and reserves. Central bank money allows to create scriptural money, but it doesn't replace it. So let's write the new table now. The new table is equal to what? Credits 700, deposits 1,100, bills 220, mandatory reserves 110, and excellent reserves 70. So what are the commercial banks going to do? They're going to give new credits. New credits of how much? Of 70. Let's put that in red. They'll give, no, let's leave it in black and we'll put the new one in red. They will give new credits of 70. What people are going to do with these new credits? They're going to put it in the deposits. So here it will be plus 70. What is the part of the 70 that will be taken as new bills? How many new bills this will create? How much? 14, very well. Everyone understands why 14? It's clear for everyone? So this will be plus 14. How many new mandatory reserves are you going to get? 7. So how much is now my accident reserve? 70 minus 7 minus 14, which is equal to 49. And I continue. I continue until the last table. Now, how can I calculate what is happening in the last table? Okay. I need some space, so yes, I'm waiting. I will write this again. Yes, I wait, don't worry. No, I'll try to.
chụp cắt được mà nó không có chụp nguyên bản được thôi. Hả? Nè. Nhưng mà nó chỉ nó chụp nhỏ lại chứ không có chụp được.
Okay, I just wrote it again. Now, how do I, come on guys, how do I calculate what is happening at the end? This is for us? Yes? No or no? The guys that here is for us. We make too much noise or not? No. So, because I speak very loud, I know. I don't need a microphone. Okay. So, how do I go to the end? How do I get to the end? To go to the end, I have a formula. Allow me to calculate the new credits. So the total new credits, okay, total new credits is equal to 1 to B plus R multiplying by the initial excedentary reserves, DR. So the total credits here is equal to 1 to 1/10 plus 1/5 multiplied. What were the initial excedentary reserves? 100. So this is 100, right? So this is equal to 333.3. So if I come to the last table, the new credits is equal to 700 plus 333.3. The new deposits are 1. Let's put it in red. The new deposits are 1,000 plus 333.3. The reserves have become 100 plus 13.3. I'll put it in red. Plus 33.3. The bills are equal to 200 plus 66.6. And this is over. I don't have any more excedent reserves. Now, if you look at this final one, this is a final. This is the final. If you look at the final one, what is happening? If you look at the final one, how much is the central bank money? The central bank money is equal to 133.3 plus 166.6, which is equal to, 266.6, which is equal to 500. So it's exactly the same as here, guys. It didn't change. 400 there, 400 there. The monetary mass here is equal to bills plus deposits. It's equal to 266.6 plus 1,333.3, which will make 1,600. How much was the initial monetary mass? The initial monetary mass was 1,200. So the difference in monetary mass is equal to 1,600 minus 1,200, 400. This is the way central bank increased L. So this is the increase of L. Okay, write it down. Yes. I'm Sorry, which one? Yeah, it's here. 1,333.3. It's 600. 600, right, you're right. It's 600. My mistake. Okay, guys, write it down and I will explain it once more. I wait that everyone writes it down and then I will explain it again. Okay, did you copy it? Did you copy it? Can I explain once more?
Yeah.
Okay, but guys, try to be a little bit quiet because then I need to speak even louder, and the lady next maybe. So, the idea in this chapter is to understand how you create L, how you increase L. Now, what we're going to see is something that was working very well, let's say 20 years ago. It still works today, but there are some limits to this. So I will talk about it later. Let's first understand what is happening here. So what I suggest is when it's not clear, you say stop, explain again. So we know where are the problems, okay? Let's start from the beginning. What you have here is the accounts of all the commercial banks to the central bank. You have an account to a commercial bank, okay? You have an account. But your commercial bank has also an account to the central bank. And the account of the commercial bank to the central bank is like that. Do you understand that? Okay for that? So this is the account of the commercial bank in the central bank. In this account, what are you going to find? These are the credits. These are the deposits. And these are the bills. Once again, these are the bills that people have in their pockets. And these are the reserves. The reserves are the bills that the banks have in their ATM. Okay until now? Good. This here represents in reality bills. Once again, I show it. This represents bills. These bills are either in my pocket or in the ATM. So, if they're in my pocket, we call them bills. If they're in the ATM, we call them reserves. The sum of bills and reserves is what we call central bank money. And the central bank knows exactly how much of this money exists. How do they know it? They know it because there is a number here. So they know exactly how much money there is. Then the central bank money is bills plus reserves, and it's equal to 400. Now you have a second level, the level of monetary mass. Monetary mass is what people have as money. What is the money that you have? What is the money that you have? The money that you have is the money you have in your bank account plus the money you have in your pocket. So if you add all people, these are the money they have in their bank accounts, and these are the bills they have in their pockets. So the total monetary mass is deposits plus bills, is what people have. Okay? Now, let's see the first small b. Small b shows you what? Let's imagine that you have 1 million dong in the bank. Okay? So every month you have 1 million dong in the bank. Or 10 million, let's go even further. You have 10 million dong in the bank. How much money do you want to have as cash in your pockets? If I go to France, I don't have anything, which might be a problem. It's good to have some euros in your pocket. My wife always has some euros in her pocket. I don't have anything. I just have my credit card. The problem is that sometimes I need cash, so I have to go and withdraw, but usually I don't have. So my cash preference is almost zero. But in Vietnam, cash preference is higher. People usually have bills in their pockets. Why? Because if you want to buy, I don't know, a bottle of water or this, maybe you cannot pay this by credit card. Maybe you need to pay it cash. So you must have some bills. So what is people's preference for cash? People's preference for cash is the number of bills to the number of deposits. So this is equal to bills to deposits. It's 1/5. Okay, this is an exercise. So we consider that people want to have 1/5 of their money on bills. Okay? Is it clear until now?
Yes.
Now, the ATM must have money always. Why? To avoid what we said yesterday. To avoid that people go to an ATM and don't find money. So ATMs always have cash. If you go with your credit card, you will always find money. If you don't find money, you get panic. If you go to the bank and you ask for cash, and they say we don't have, you panic. And basically, usually, if you go to the bank and ask for an important amount of cash, they might say, okay, thank you for telling me, come tomorrow to take it. Because maybe they don't have so much cash. If you ask for a huge amount of cash, they will say, okay, but please come tomorrow. because they don't want to give you all the cash and empty their ATM. So if you ask for a very important amount, they might say, okay, please come tomorrow to take them, because they will find some cash. So this here, the reserves, show the cash that banks keep in their ATM or in their cell to give people money. Now, the rate of reserves to deposits is decided by the central bank. If the central bank considers that people are not confident, if the central bank considers that there is unrest, if people don't feel confident about the banking system, what will people do? They will take cash at home. Take the example of the Greek crisis. Maybe you heard about the Greek crisis. So when Greece was on crisis, they said maybe the Greek banks will collapse. Maybe the Greek banking system will collapse. So what did people do? They went to the bank, they took the money, and they put it under their pillow. They put it in the pockets, saying, I prefer to have my money in my house instead of putting it in the bank, because if the banks crash, I lose my money. So every time there is unrest, every time people fear that the banking system is not working well, what are they doing? They go and take cash. It's the same. If you know that there is no petrol, what do? You go and take more petrol. You fill everything, and maybe you take a jerry cane, and you put petrol in the jerry cane, although you don't need it. So if the central bank considers that people are very afraid, what are they going to do? They're going to increase this rate. They put it very high to be sure that if people go to the bank, they find money. But if there is confidence, if things go well, if you have trust on the banking system, then the central bank might consider of reducing this rate. So now he said the central bank says to the banks, okay, people are confident on the banking system, so you can now decrease the reserve rate. So this is what is happening here. We go from a reserve rate of 1/5 to a reserve rate of 1/10. Okay? Now, what will happen? So this is exactly the same as this. Credits 600, deposits 1,000, bills 200. But now the reserves that I have here, they are not all mandatory. This here is equal to that, right? The sum is 200. But from this 200, the banks must only have how much? They must have 1/10 of deposits. Only 100. They only need 100. But they have 200. So 100 is mandatory. 100 is excellent. What? Is it clear until now? Everyone? So what are the banks going to do with their excellent reserves? This is the difficult part. The banks will use this. Come on, guys. The banks will use these excellent reserves to make new credits. So they'll take this 100 here and they'll make new credits of 100. Okay? The banks will make new hundreds of credits. What does this mean? If a bank makes me a credit, this means I will take this money and I will put it in my deposit. So this 100 goes immediately here, 100. Maybe I will transfer this money to another person because I want to buy a house, but still it will appear in the deposits of this person. Now there are 100 new deposits. For these 100 new deposits, people prefer to have some of it in cash. How much? 20. Is it clear? People have new deposits of 100. How much they want to have in cash?
We do this ratio.
1/5, 1/5 of 100. So it's 20. Okay? And the banks must make new reserves. How much new reserves are going to make? Come on, try to answer, guys. How many new reserves they make out of 100? How many reserves they must have? 1/10. So they'll make 10 new reserves. Until now, everyone understands. What is the difficult part is to understand that with this 100, the banks, this was central bank money. The banks use this to create scriptural money. But the central bank money didn't disappear. The only thing is that you had 100 of accident reserves, 20 went to the bills, 10 went to the mandatory reserves, but you still have 70. So all along the exercises, these 400 always stay. They never, the sum of this is always 400. The sum of this is always 400. The sum of this is always 400. Okay? It never changes. What changes is the status. Now, among the extraordinary reserves, 20 went to the bills, 10 became mandatory reserves. What will happen? The banks will use this 70 to make new credits. People will take the credits and put in the deposits. People prefer to have some cash. How much? 20% of the deposits. That makes 14. And the banks, the commercial banks, are obliged to make 10% of mandatory reserves on this 70. How much does this make? 7. What is happening to my extraordinary reserves? I have 70 minus 7 minus 14. I only have 49. So what will happen the next time? The bank will make 49, etc., etc. What is happening at the end? At the end, there are no more extraordinary reserves. At the end, so once again here, you have 400. What is the final table? Well, to calculate the final table, I can calculate the number of total credits. The number of total credits is equal to 1 to B plus R, multiplying the initial accident reserve, this one. So this is equal to 1 to 1/10 plus 1/5 multiplied by 100. And that will give you 333.3. These are the new credits. These are the new deposits. So people will take the credits, will put in the new deposits. What will be the new reserves? 1/10 of this. 33.3. What are the new bills? 1/5 of this, 66.6. And now I don't have any more excellent reserves. Central bank money, still 400. Monetary mass, 1,333.3 plus the bills, 266.6. That makes 1,600. What was my initial monetary mass? 1,200. So I have created a monetary mass of 400. Yeah. Oh, this is something I'm going to tell in the exercise in the beginning. I'm going to tell you that this goes from this to this. Okay, guys, there is a question. Why we go from this to this? This is a decision. Guys, this is a decision of the central bank. This goes from this. This is something I'm going to tell you in the exercise. I'm going to tell you. Yes, I'll give you. This is something in the beginning.
Okay.
I will tell you that the central bank goes from from this to this.
Rồi tóm lại là hãy để nó về để hãy biết được cái phần trăm của vay. Rồi khi nào là phải nộp? Sẽ mai gì vậy? Sẽ mai thêm mà. Khi nào ra kết quả final? Final là cái bạn này. Cái phần này. Ý là làm sao để biết nó là tính từ đội tôi có NCB cho họ thì mày chỉ cần làm bao.
Okay, guys, is there anyone who understood everything? Guys, someone who understood everything well? Is there someone who can do something for me? I would like to have someone here come to explain it in Vietnamese. Upon this, so we can answer. Is there anyone that understands? I will be here if you have questions. Who understood it well enough to come and help me? Guys, you can come and help me. Did you understand? Did you understand? Or not? Do you feel like coming? I'll be here to help you. Explain it in Vietnamese. Is there something you didn't understand? Guys, please.
Mọi người muốn người hiểu, ý là giải thích toàn bộ cho mọi người lại từ đầu hay là mọi người không hiểu đâu nên mọi người chẳng hạn nền kinh tế tung ra là 1.000 thì khi đó là người dân sẽ có credit là 600, họ sẽ giữ trong túi của họ là 200 và rồi 200 còn lại thì họ sẽ cất ở trong ngân hàng. Thì á, khi mà cái rồi này mình hiểu nó là một cái dự trữ bắt buộc vậy á, kiểu là khi mọi người cất tiền ở trong ngân hàng là 10 triệu mà ngân hàng đưa ra dự trữ bắt buộc là 10% thì ngân hàng chỉ được giữ lại là 1 triệu trong ngân hàng thôi, còn 9 triệu còn lại thì họ sẽ mang đi cho vay. Cái B nè, B nhỏ này hết hả? Yeah. B nhỏ này có nghĩa là mọi người có 1.000 thì mọi người chỉ rút ra tầm 100 để mọi người tiêu thôi. Có nghĩa là cái preference in cash như là tiền mọi người giữ ở trong túi đó, nó chỉ là một cái tỷ lệ tiền giữ trong túi thôi. Còn cái R này là một cái dự trữ bắt buộc. Cái R này là nếu mà ai học môn banking operation là cũng biết cái R này là kiểu dự trữ bắt buộc mà ngân hàng quy định. Ok.
Okay, guys? Good. You go to create your mandatory reserves and expendable reserves. You said it already? Okay. So here you create from the total reserves, you create mandatory reserves, 1/10 of 10%. What you have here is the new mandatory reserves. You have 200, you go for 150, 110. So now we only need 100 as reserves. I have 200, but I only need 100.
Thì thầy có kêu là khi mà dự trữ bắt buộc, khi mà nền kinh tế ổn rồi, dự trữ bắt buộc sẽ giảm từ 20% xuống 10%. Là khi đó thì nó sẽ có cái reserve mới á, là nó sẽ bằng cái 10% mới ở đây nè. Sau khi mà nhà nước giảm 10% mới nhân với tổng tiền trong nền kinh tế là 1.000 thì mọi người sẽ lấy 10% nhân với 1.000 là 100. Thì khi đó ngân hàng chỉ cần giữ lại 100 thôi. Thay vì bình thường là ngân hàng phải giữ lại 200 trong deposit để làm dự trữ bắt buộc, thì khi mà ngân hàng giảm xuống thì ngân hàng chỉ cần giữ 100 thôi, còn 100 còn lại này, cái R này thì ngân hàng sẽ tung ra nền kinh tế để cho vay. Thì khi đó thì số tiền này lại đi vào nền kinh tế, bởi vì là 100 này đem đi cho vay thì nó sẽ tiếp tục đi vào nền kinh tế, và khi đó là mọi người có nhiều tiền trong nền kinh tế thì mọi người sẽ chi tiêu nhiều hơn, giữ trong túi nhiều hơn, thì mọi người lại gửi tiền vào trong ngân hàng nhiều hơn. Thì thay vì đó mình sẽ có thêm 101 này nữa, là ngân hàng lại phải tiếp tục giữ 10% trong ngân hàng, và 90% còn lại thì đem tiếp ra cho vay. Nó như kiểu là một cái vô hạn vậy đó, kiểu 1, 2, 3, 4 chấm đến N. Thì từ cái N đó thì mình suy ra cái new credit total, là kiểu là cứ giữ 10% trong ngân hàng như vậy, thì đến cuối cùng á thì ngân hàng sẽ tạo được bao nhiêu tiền trong nền kinh tế thì sẽ dùng cái công thức này. Mọi người có không hiểu câu nào không thì giơ tay, chứ mình cũng không biết phải giải thích chữ nó nào nữa.
So we come to the final. So this is how you get to the final. So you use this to calculate credits, and then you do the same.
Kiểu là cái credit này thì nó sẽ không thay đổi, phải 300 ở đây và 300 ở đây, và nó vì tạo ra 400 á, tức là cả cái tổng này nè, cả cái tổng này, cả cái này và cả cái này thì nó sẽ không hề thay đổi. Tại 400 này là được tạo ra trong nền kinh tế từ cái MN này đến cái cuối cùng là mình tạo được cái MN này, là nền kinh tế sau khi mà cứ dự trữ bắt buộc 10%, xong rồi còn 90% còn lại đem cho vay ấy, thì nền kinh tế sẽ tạo ra được là thêm 400 đô nữa. Cứ tạo như vậy ấy, thì có phải là đến cuối cùng khi mà ở ngân hàng cứ giữ 10%, 90% đem cho vay, thì có phải là con số mà ngân hàng đem cho vay nó sẽ càng ngày càng giảm không? Kiểu là 100 đồng, ngân hàng giữ lại 10 đồng, cho vay đi 90 đồng, rồi lại từ 10% của 90 đó giữ lại, rồi lại chỉ còn có 81 để đem đi cho vay thôi. Có phải là con số mà ngân hàng đem tiền đi cho vay nó càng ngày càng giảm. Thì đến một lúc nào đó khi nó giảm về không rồi ấy, thì nó sẽ mất cái R ở đây, mà nó chỉ còn lại R dự trữ trong ngân hàng, và B là tiền mọi người giữ để tiêu dùng. Thì cái con số nó thay đổi cuối cùng là 400 ở đây.
Yeah? What? How it works this?
But I want to make clear.
Okay. So this is 1/10 of this, and this is 1/5 of this. This is 1/10 of this.
And
This is 1/5. Yes.
mọi người vẫn không hiểu tại sao nó lại ra con số này hay sao? Đây hả?
Tại sao nó lại không cộng lên mà nó lại là 6?
They want to ask one they don't change.
Because this is the beginning. This is what we have here. It's exactly what we have here.
Ý của thầy ở đây á là 100 và 200 là 600 đây, thầy muốn thể hiện cái ban đầu ở đây và cái tổng của cái sự thay đổi nó nằm ở đây.
Không có liên quan đến hai kia nè.
Không, nó là kiểu là 100, 200 là cái ban đầu, tổng của R tăng lên là sẽ tăng bao nhiêu, chẳng hạn là R ở đây tăng 20, 14 và tăng 20, 14 và cộng thêm, nếu mà mọi người làm một cái cột thứ tư nữa thì lại sẽ bằng cộng cái này, nó tất cả những cái sự thay đổi nó đều là 33, tổng của R tăng lên sẽ là 33.3 và B sẽ tăng lên là 66.6. Còn cái 100 và 200 là cái ban đầu, cái mình cần quan tâm là ở cái bảng đầu tiên này á.
Nhưng mà ban đầu là 100.
This is the beginning. This was 100 to 100. But you can hear it's 100 to 100. And this 100 here became this and this. What you have here, this is the table you get there. Okay? Yes, this table here becomes this table there. It's the same. It's the same. Yes, I could write here MR. It's the same. It's the same. They will become again mother to themselves. I can write here MR. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's right. And you can also tell them that this plus this equal to this. Guys. This has become this.
Để thì nói là mọi người có thể cái R ở đây thì chỉ viết tắt cho cái MR và cái sự thay đổi ở đây là tổng số tiền mà ngân hàng có thể đem đi cho vay.
Nó phân bổ.
Nó phân bổ ra. Đúng rồi, nó kiểu dần nó giảm dần cái số tiền cho vay đi á. Kiểu như mà tiền nó cứ thêm vào nền kinh tế là sau tất cả thì tiền trong nền kinh tế sẽ tăng lên là 400.
Vậy cái L đó là tiền bỏ của nền kinh tế.
Đúng rồi, R là tiền kiểu là ngân hàng giữ lại một ít, còn R đó là đem đi cho vay.
Nó phân bổ vào hai cái kia và R sẽ tiến về không là cái final. Nó tiến về không thì nó phân bổ cho cái rồi cái bên dưới.
Rồi đến cuối cùng là kết quả là như thế nào? Ví dụ như ER thì nghĩa là đến cuối cùng nó sẽ như thế nào?
Yes. Wait, there is a question.
Biết rồi, nhưng mà nó giải thích cho điều gì á? Tại vì vì này thì ban đầu mình sẽ lấy là 82 profit hơn mình cho đi như vậy là cái nào hay không? Vậy rồi sau đó thì mình lấy thêm tiền
The final exam comes to what we're going to do.
nó không có mất.
Just 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Guys, I have a question. If the exercise in the final exam, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4 tables and the final 5 tables. Are there any questions more to the young lady? Thank you very much. Okay, guys, take a break. And we'll start exercising.
mày ta vẫn chưa hiểu. Mỗi cái Amber đó là ngân hàng hả?
Hả?
Cái Amber các bạn
Hả?
có mảng Amber đó. Nó là
Không, nó chỉ là tượng trưng cho ngân hàng thôi. Nên là bạn này là account này, bạn cũng là tính của ngân hàng thôi.
Ví dụ như ở đây ghi ra trong ngân hàng khác nữa đúng không?
Ở trong ngân hàng khác nữa hay làm gì đó thì tùy nó.
Ta vẫn chưa hiểu tại sao cái này là cộng như 600.
Hả?
Hãy chuyên gia cộng như 600 chứ trong khi nó mà đưa cho cái ngân hàng khác á thì chắc gì nó cộng được.
Đó.
The reserves are included in the deficits. So the monetary amount cannot include the reserve because the reserve are supposed